Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven tonight. We are here about to talk about Frankenstein, but before we get to that, let me introduce myself and my wonderful coven mates here tonight. I am Heather Greene. I am the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. Ooh, I hit myself in the glasses. Good start. And I am a journalist covering things occult in the media, as well as an editor at Llewellyn Worldwide, working with wonderful witchy authors who are writing about wonderful witchy things every day. And so you'll notice today our coven looks a little different tonight, but I'm going to first start with Richard-Lael Lillard. Hello, Richard-Lael.
Hello. Yes, that is right. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I would be a. Also, before we go too much further, I'm known as the Gentleman Psychic, by the way. I'm a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. Anyway, with that, make certain if you have made it this far, hit the like, the subscribe. You can follow us. You can go over here to join the coven. You can buy things over here, and you can dress like us. You can you can sleep with me if you want to. Whatever. mysterycontrol.com, right over here. Again, we do love all of your comments, all of your suggestions, so keep them up. It helps the algorithms.
Yes, it does. And you'll notice tonight, I forgot to say that I am playing Patty Negri tonight. And unfortunately, Patty and Jason and Courtney are all off doing other things. So we have lovely guests with us. Some you'll recognize, some are new. So let's start out with our regular Tabitha. Hello, Tabitha.
Hi, everybody. It's good to come out of my time off from social medias. This is the one movie that would bring me back out of it. I am a psychic and medium, and I am so happy to be here to talk about this movie tonight. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you for being here. You're always great to have on. And Scarlett, how about you introduce yourself? Welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Scarlett Amaris. I am a screen and television writer. I also teach a lot, or I lecture a lot on mythology and witchcraft, and I'm thrilled to be back here again. And I absolutely, Mary Shelley is one of my literary heroes, so I'm thrilled to be talking about this movie tonight. Thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. And then our newest guest, Jenny. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell the coven who you are?
Hi, I'm Jenny C. Bell. I am a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. I actually wore my shirt and brought my Tarot del Toro. I am an author of Spirit Crystals, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, but is also really fun. So that's kind of me in a little summary.
Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to everybody in our chat. Like Richard-Lael said, keep posting in the chat and sharing your thoughts as we go along, because you're part of this too. But before we get started giving our opinions, we probably need to have a summary, an unbiased synopsis of what this movie is about, in case you don't know who Frankenstein or Frankenstein is. Richard-Lael?
This one is going to be difficult for me. Those of you who do not know the story of Frankenstein, the most succinct and brief way that I can put it is the modern Prometheus. Dr. Frankenstein creates a creature who takes on a life of his own and then is hunted as a monster. That sort of is what we always know about Frankenstein. This one is a little bit different. It deviates from Mary Shelley's work a little, but in ways I think that she would approve. The opening is, it begins with a ship embedded in ice. And Dr. Victor Frankenstein has been trying to escape his creature, whom has taken on a life of his own and has discovered who and what he is and has been filled with rage. Understandable rage, but rage nonetheless. And so Dr. Frankenstein is held in the captain's quarters of the ship embedded in ice. And he begins to tell his story as to where he created, how he created, why he created this this being, this monster who had no brain other than to say Victor, 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 Victor ad nauseum, Victor. And it goes into his past about his father being a surgeon and his mother passing away, and how his brother had sort of been the sunshine and he was the darkness. And then he creates this monster with the aid of someone who was a financial backer, and they have found the castle Frankenstein, and they, through the power of electrodes, bring life into this monster, whom has kindness and love. And when the creature comes on board, he tells his story, and he talks about how that he didn't remember, and how that he fell in love and he didn't have words for it, and how he was pursued for being different, how he was called a monster. And yet there were moments of peace where he was at peace with the world. And that was when he was with the family. The wisdom in the old man, his blind eye, the old man who didn't call him monster, but rather called him friend. And then when he comes to the realization who and what he is weighted with unbearable loneliness and begs his creator to create for him a companion, because it is really hard to be alone. And so he pursues Dr. Frankenstein because his love is dead. And he pursues him till the end. And right at the point where the monster would be justified in ending the life of the monster who created him, he forgives him. And he dies. And the monster lives. And it ends with Frankenstein, the creature, walking out into the ice and seeing the sun as if for the first time. And then it ends with a quote by Lord Byron, which I want to get that correct because it's important. Here we go. And thus the heart will break and brokenly live on. And that is the story of Frankenstein.
And that's the Witches Movie Coven tonight. I think we all need a moment. So at this point, Patty would turn it over to me, and I just feel like I have to take a moment. Thank you, Richard-Lael. That was beautiful. And I would give 5 things. So I'm going to do 5 things real quick, and then we'll turn it over to our guests here, our wonderful guests. So the 5 things to know about this movie, other than the fact that it is bringing many people to tears, is it is obviously by Guillermo del Toro, a famous and very popular filmmaker. Its budget was $120 million. And it is doing very, very well on Netflix already. I think in the first 3 days, it had like 29 million streams. It did open briefly in theaters, but went right to Netflix streaming. It is a Netflix production. So Del Toro, let's talk about him, born in 1964. He is from Mexico, and he has done a number of things. If you haven't seen them, I'm just going to list a few so you know what else he's done. Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, which he's, of course, got a lot of accolades for. Pacific Rim, The Shape of Water. If you haven't seen that one, I highly recommend it. Another monster-type film that is pulls at heartstrings. And Pinocchio, most recently, again, lots of awards. His films have won a number of Academy Awards as well as others. He says that his influences are Dickens in Victorian England and Miyazaki, animation, Miyazaki. Interestingly, I read a side story. His father was kidnapped, apparently. He's recently passed, but there's a story about his father being kidnapped, and they actually had to pay ransom for him, and that haunts him to this day, knowing that there's this issue. That's a big story we're not going to get into, but I thought that was interesting. Let's look at the cast real quick. There are some heavy hitters here and some really interesting characters. This was an incredible film, and it really had some great acting in it. So it's worth looking at a few of them. Jacob Elordi, of course, he is 6'5", which we had to look up to see if they put him because he's really much bigger than everybody else. He is 6'5". He's from Australia. He was found in the Kissing Booth franchise and in Salibird. I haven't seen it, but it's a 2023 film. You can stream it. And he's coming up in Wuthering Heights. Mia Goth plays the girl, of course. She was in Suspiria and Emma. If you've seen either of those, I think we did Suspiria here. And she started out in erotic film, but has moved over. Oscar Isaac, of course. We have, he was in Dune 2021. That one, The Addams Family. I'm not sure if Richard-Lael, you knew he was in The Addams Family, but I figured I'd have to bring that up.
I didn't actually. Which
Grandpa Frump?
Huh.
Well, there you go. But even better, more to love about this film, right?
Even better, even more to love.
He was in The Force Awakens and some of the Star Wars films. He's a character there. He's also part of the multiverse, the Spider-Man animated films, amongst many others. These are just a few you might know. Christopher Waltz, he was in Inglourious Bastards. I recommend that movie as well. A great film. That's what I think about when I see him. That's the movie I think about him in. He was also in Django Unchained. He was in Pinocchio and a number of other things. You will recognize his face. Felix Kammer, I believe, was in All Quiet on the Western Front. I only bring that up because it's another amazing movie if you haven't seen that one. Charles Dance. He was in you. The first thing I said is, why is Tywin Lannister here on this set? So, that's, of course, you're very recognizable as Tywin right there. And Ralph Ineson, who we just saw, he was in Nosferatu that we just reviewed last week, as well as The Witch. He's in a lot of Eggers films, and he is a very recognizable character. And then another character that you might recognize was David Bradley, the actor that played the blind man. He is Walter Frey in Game of Thrones, and he also was in Harry Potter, and also in The Strain. So he's another very recognizable face, although I did not actually recognize him while I was watching the movie. That's who he was. So you have a lot of pretty cool actors here to look at. The origin, of course, is Mary Shelley. I'm sure we'll have some of y'all will talk about Mary Shelley a little bit more and your love for the original novel, which was published in 1818 when she was around, I think, 20. So she was fairly young when she wrote this. And it started when she was with Lord Byron and her husband, the poet, Percy Bysshe Shelley. And they were charged with writing a ghost story. And Frankenstein came out of that. That's the lore behind it. And she was told to write a ghost story, and this is what she came up with. It was published, I think she started in around 1816, of course, published in 1818. It was not her first novel or her adult work, but I think it was her second. But it is considered the first science fiction novel, not the first Gothic, but the first science fiction. And of course, written by a woman, which is pretty incredible. We can talk more about the differences and all that later. And then finally, the last piece I want to talk about real quick is, as soon as I flip my pages for emotes, because I don't remember what happened an hour ago. Oh, here we go. So I want to talk just briefly about the actual filming real quick. Just some notes from Del Toro himself. He wanted to create something that challenged all aspects of filmmaking. You don't have a lot of CGI. The boat was actually created. I watched a film about that. It's very, very cool. They actually created it. The set, they found a water tower to turn into the castle. They show how pieces where you see the guys being thrown and a lot of the stunts, all real, not CGI'd. there was 6 to 11 hours of makeup, the costumes, everything. He pushed everybody to be creative and to capture his vision of this movie, this story, which he said, for me, Frankenstein, this story, the original book, is a Bible. But he wanted to make it his own, to sing it back in a different key with a different emotion. That is how he wanted. This was a piece that he really has wanted to do since he was 7, he said. So retell this story. So I love the way he said that he wanted to make it his own and sing it back in a different key with a different emotion. And he says that only monsters hold the secrets that he longs for. And that's why he likes to tell these stories. So I think that's really nice. And he also used the word opera and symphony when he's describing this film. Talking about the emotion it evokes and it gets you to is similar to an opera or a symphony. And I think that we can talk about whether he hit that note or not. And that's it. I think we're going to talk about colors too, Richard-Lael, which I have a note down, but you said you wanted to talk about that. So
we can. What if you want?
I could literally write a dissertation on this for film school, this film, in so many ways, but I will hand it over. Who wants to go first? Who wants to tell us what you think?
There's actually so much to talk about. I feel like it can be more than one episode of Witches Movie Coven. When Rob reached out to me, I was so excited about this because I hadn't planned to come out of mini retirement for a while, but this is definitely the one movie that would bring me back, just because of what you were talking about, the feelings that it invokes for me. And these are my opinions. It's a love note. It's a love note to many different types of art, visual arts, writing, film, and it's also a collaboration of really the living and the dead. We have a person who takes film and takes a book and adapts it and into his interpretation of it, and that's the beautiful thing about art too, is that you have that license and that you get to do that, and you get to touch people in a different way. And I really think that he does that, and through so many things. The colors. I know, and Richard-Lael wants to talk about the colors. And boy,
I don't care who talks about colors.
Yeah, no,
but we can all talk about colors.
Yeah, just a little touch in the art world of the richness of the palette. There's a lot of this is a love note to Caravaggio as well. There's lots of nods to Caravaggio in here. There's the Medusa medallion on the wall, another monster who is juxtaposed with what I see as the eye of God that's just across the ways, that the window that's in the tower. It reminded me the eye of God. It reminded me of The Great Gatsby, and how he's always watching, whoever your God might be. There's just so much to talk about. I'm so overwhelmed because it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. There's this duality here of, like I said, tenebrism is a strong contrast between light and dark. And this is a movie about light and dark in all of its many forms, and, literal lighting, and the light and the dark that we all possess within ourselves. But really and truly what pulls me in is the nods to all of the art. And like I said, there's Caravaggio with the Medusa, There is, I felt like there's a nod to the painting Narcissus when the creature looks at himself into the water. There's the creation of Adam that we can talk about, that point in the movie when, they're just, Adam is being created and he's just about to touch the hand of God. But Michelangelo makes it seem like God, God is just within reach, but you can never touch him. And I totally do not believe that. I totally believe that we're all able to touch creation because we are of whatever creation you believe in. There is I'm going to mess up this word, another Caravaggio painting, the incredulity of St. Thomas. There's the part in the movie where he's taking his fingers and is like sticking it into the wound on his side. And this is a painting. There's a painting where St. Thomas, he places his finger into Christ's wound. It's about faith and doubt. There's nods to illustrations. Thomas Eho, with the creature's word cards. Simon Renard, the Vanitas. It's a genre of still life and paintings that reflects on morality, vanity, worthiness, and the fleeting nature of earthly pleasure and achievements, and death and the passage of time. And I think the Vanitas really reach out to this movie with that, the fleeting nature of earthly pleasure and achievement, death and the passage of time, for sure. And I could keep going on and on and on. Like Heather said, could write a whole dissertation.
If I may, Tabitha, I also like to add one more element of art. Guillermo del Toro said that he wanted this to be an opera. And one of the things that strikes me is the set work is reminiscent of Zeffirelli, whom was a brilliant set designer and used color to tell the story as much as the dialogue and the singer. So in these sets, when I'm looking at these Guillermo del Toro sets, they're so much like Zeffirelli, like watching the opera. And as an opera queen myself, it was breathtaking. If I may, for a brief moment, talk about the color schemes. When you notice in the original version, when he starts thinking back, the world is in black and white. That just shows sort of how things were sort of cruel. And then his mother is depicted in red. And that shows her love, her passion, her presence that she has in this very black and white world. And then he later has the red on his hands to signify blood. Green is the color of the love interest. It is also the color of the monster. Blue is the color of the brother, which we have here. And it really shows sort of how the characters evolve around each other and they move throughout this world. You also may notice that when the creature begins to tell his story, that it becomes more harvest, more gold, more sunshine, more bright golden colors, as opposed to the very sort of stark world of Victor Frankenstein. So brilliant. Also, I loved the little detail in the love interest who had red hair like Ilsa Lancaster, and then she's in green, but she always wears that red cross around her neck. And then in the end, she's in her white dress, and it has the same pattern as Ilsa Lancaster's bandages. But she's the reverse of Mother. She now has the red cross and the white dress, as opposed to the other juxtaposition, the other way around. And that you also may see images of like the crucified Christ. This dates way back to the original 1930s film, but people saw it as blasphemy, There was actually in the 30s version a scene where the creature sees the crucifix and in his desire to help tries to save the crucified Christ from the cross, but it was the 30s and people were afraid that that was sacrilegious, so they edited it out, but that carries all the way through to this 2025 version. I'm not going to go on. I'm going to let the people have the floor.
Can I just add to your colors real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was watching it, obviously, I think we all noticed the colors, but something I thought about was how the red was associated with mom. And when we look at the chakra system, right, the root chakra is red, and that's our sense of safety. And then Elizabeth is associated with green, which is our heart chakra, and is love. And I love that Mia Goth played both characters, because that seems so like almost like telenovela type stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to add my little chakra insight.
She was also a walking piece of malachite with that dress there that he just showed. That took my breath away too. I said, I was looking at that and I said to my partner, she's a piece of walking malachite. And with, to go along with your book, I mean that had to have really struck a chord with you as well.
And when she's
all her
malachite, she wears the red coral necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Sorry.
But I mean, Guillermo is known for that. I mean, he is a craftsman. It's a beautifully crafted film. And I have to say, like, I love but it's also like, it's a very meta film in its own way too. Like the beautiful nod to Paradise Lost and the beautiful nod to Prometheus. But he even talks about the ninth configuration, which I was like, I'm reading that right now, and that's William Peter Blatty, who wrote Legion and who wrote The Exorcist, who was like a former Jesuit priest. And all of these books have to do with why evil exists in the world and the hubris of man. And the ninth configuration is actually this, which he's talking about the body and the I think it's the limbic system, where around the heart the ninth configuration lives, and that's kind of like the secret. But the ninth configuration is actually this idea that Blatty came up with, that it has to do with the odds of like the nucleotides getting together for life to actually spontaneously exist upon Earth, which goes back to being what has to go into being the creator of Adam, of Frankenstein's monster. And so the fact that Guillermo is able to multi-layer all of these things. He also talks about Ozymandias, which I was, like another beautiful reference. And I don't know, like, if he meant this on purpose, but there's also a line to a Sisters of Mercy song, which Andrew Eldritch obviously stole from Ozymandias, but he uses the last line, which is in the Sisters song, which is, that's like the gothest you can get. And so I appreciate, as a screenwriter, just this multi-layered kind of, besides all the visual, but even in the dialogue and the books that are laying around and these concepts that they're grappling with, that Adam, Frankenstein's monster, is grappling with, it's really kind of an incredible piece of work. Now, that said, I'm not convinced that Mary Shelley would be super on board with like the sad backstory for Victor, because that was most definitely not in her book, and she was kind of a radical feminist of the day, as her mother was too. And so I think that's a little bit of a conceit of Guillermo's, which it works in this context, but that is slightly blasphemous to the book, in my opinion. So I just have to put that out there. But an incredibly beautifully crafted piece of work. And this is what Guillermo is known for. The only thing I would say about it too is that I feel like I love the idea that Mia Goth is in love with the monster. It's not the first time that that's been used. But I feel like she's a little bit lost in this movie too. I would like to have seen more of her. I think she could have been more utilized, because she was a very interesting Elizabeth Lavenza. Or they gave her a different name in this. But yeah. You guys can disagree with me.
She was I loved her. I thought that she was really brilliant in it. I will say though, I kind of did, even though I would have loved to have seen more. Again, she was reminiscent of Ilse Lancaster in The Bride of Frankenstein, whom was the title character and had 5 minutes in the entire film. But it was that scream that breaks your heart again in that film. So where I thought she was underutilized, I also understood why she might be.
Yeah. Did you see that interview with Elsa where she's talking about when she does the hiss scream, that she's imitating a swan?
I
And
did
that's where
see that.
she got that from, which is amazing.
And then
Beautiful
she
and
made
deadly.
a horror icon all of her own from 5 minutes worth of film.
Yeah.
Well, so like the Wicked Witch of the West was on the screen only for 11 minutes of that whole movie. And yet she's the one everyone remembered walking away from. So sometimes it's not the minutes, it's just the presence. So
I have to say,
Well,
too, like Jacob Liordi, how do you say his last name? Liordi?
Elordi?
Yeah. He, I think, really stole this movie. You know, like at times he reminded me a little bit of the faun from Labyrinth. There's a couple of, like, you see a couple of moments of that. He also reminds me of Frankenstein's monster from Penny Dreadful. Like there was, who I think is one of the best Frankenstein monsters ever to be written. But I think he really, really steals the show in this. Like he's so empathetic. Like you're just with him the whole way. He's enormously talented, incredibly well written and well acted. He really steals it.
It's the way
I
he moves
agree.
too. He wasn't even the first one. He wasn't the first creature to be cast. I think it was. Don't quote me on this part. I think it was about 9 weeks before. There was someone else actually cast for the part, and there was some complication timing. So the person that they originally cast had to step away, and in steps him, and holy moly, I can't see this film without him being in it, just because of his stature, his 6'5" tall beautifulness, where the other person was a little shorter in stature, and through movie magic they could have made that person also fit, but he just naturally just towered over people, and I think that added to the excitement of his character as well. He was so monstrous, but he was also so beautiful at the same time.
I was like, if you're gonna fall in love with a monster, it's gonna be him.
I mean, it's not about looks. He could be a monster, but it's his insides and how he felt about things.
And
that was you could be.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. I mean, you could be the most beautiful person in the world, but be the most horrible monster inside, just because of the way that you treat other people. And I rather date a monster who's beautiful inside than that or be with that other person.
I will actually tell you a Frankenstein story that I agree with. Though I will tell you, everyone knows, Heather brought it up, the Addams Family is my favorite. I am devoted to the Addams Family like you have no idea. I identify with them. And yet, as much as I love the Addams Family, I like the Munsters, but I love Herman. Herman Munster is my favorite character in the entire Munsters universe, because he really is Fred Gwynne embodied the love and the care and the curiosity and that childlike charm that this actor also exuded with. Now, Fred Gwynne was being silly and being funny and it was sort of playing on Boris Karloff, but he still, I agree, Tabitha. It is so lovely to find someone who is charming and wonderful and sweet and kind, and kindness kindness is a currency.
It really
And I
is.
think I'm gonna. I think that's where you take the story becomes very modern,
Yes.
which I think we can talk about the original book all we want, and he did say he wants to sing it in this new way, and I think that he took this old story, which is a contemplation on how far man should go, and we still have those contemplations now in different ways. And in the the original, and there's so many novels that went through that period of time that are very much related to God and to religion, and that's the contemplation there is between how far man should go, when does man stop and God begin, and all of that stuff. But if we take this story and plant it now, it is very, very current, because we're having a conversation right now. We just are talking about the goodness versus the ugliness. We're talking about the monster, the person who does not belong, who does not look what we expect them to look like. They don't act, they're different, and so they are ostracized, and so they're cast out. They're called monster. And this is the same contemplation that we find in the original Wicked book, which is about to come out, which is why we got a backstory on the Wicked Witch of the West. It's similar to the love story, the Romeo and Juliet, that emanates out of Nosferatu that we just saw. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to give you what my reaction. I didn't expect to watch this movie. I heard it was beautiful. It's Del Toro, so I turned it on. And my partner and I watched that, and the minute it opened, I was fully engrossed 100%. We didn't get up. We didn't go anywhere. And then as it ended, as he was walking away, as he gave his story, and as he was walking away, I was ugly crying. I could not stop. And the last time I had this kind of reaction to the movie was Avatar. I cried for about 2 hours with Avatar because I wanted to be on that planet and I wanted to be with the blue people, and I didn't want this. Another case where people that are different are being ostracized and made into monsters. And this movie was everything that film should be. This whether it was like the original one or not, it used the artistry of filmmaking top tier. And the story is what led this, not CGI, not anything else. Everything was balanced. And the acting, with the costumes, with the cinematography, with the sets, with the storytelling, it was so balanced and so beautiful. And I cried. I'm still like, I can't even think about the movie too hard because I will cry again. And if I have to take a time before I watch it. So for me, this is probably one of my top movies now.
Truly.
And I have so many things that I could talk about and write about from a film historian perspective, but just from a film viewer's perspective, I am speechless.
Truly.
I agree. And I wanted to say back to like the adaptation, I was a literature major, so I love the classics and all of that. But what I liked about this film, besides how it was like a moving painting, and Guillermo has such a tight like idea. I got to see his At Home with Monsters collection at the LACMA, and you see that this man, like, he was raised by a mother who read tarot. He loved like sideshow freaks. He collected like monster memorabilia, and he has so much of it because he really loves monsters. Like, and that's, I feel like, what comes across in the film. And I also think about like, yeah, we didn't see Mia Goth's character all that much, but to me, like, initial reaction, I felt like this film was about modern masculinity and what that means. Because we talk all the time about toxic masculinity, but we don't really give an answer to what it is to be masculine in a positive way. And we see Victor as this, chaser of dreams, and he's obsessive and he just wants what he wants, and it's very toxic. And then the creature, he's very masculine, he's very beautiful, but he's soft and he's feeding deer and he's taking care of a blind man, but he still has rage. You know, it's like he's more balanced than Victor. And I think that's why like people all over are falling in love with the creature. And I've seen, you know, I read a lot of romantasy, so there are a lot of men in the books with tails and horns and bat wings. And so it's very like popular right now on Book Talk and with young adult women and young adult men to fall in love with these creatures. And I think that says something about society, like in general, that we are attracted to these creatures and we prefer them to these, you know, doctors and university people like Victor. Like we want the rawness and the beauty that's this innocence of the creature. And what I also really loved was that Guillermo del Toro says that he cast based off of eyes. And he said Jacob's eyes were innocent. And that's exactly, and you see Mia Goth fall in love with that. Like that's that moment she looks in his eyes and just sees like this innocence. She's like, I need, like, this is who I want to be with. And it's so beautiful. I could talk on and on and on. But yeah, I loved the colors. I loved the music. The music was amazing. It was like moving. And I also loved the camera constantly was moving. It's like we were following the characters instead of this kind of static shot. Like we were like with them watching what was going on. And I really loved that. I think it made us really like be engaged.
Mm-hmm. I think the one thing, I'm just going to jump in real quick about the beautifulness of the monster here. And that's a big criticism this movie is actually getting. I get why they're saying it, but that getting back to stepping outside of maybe what the original was supposed to be is the monster was supposed to be hideous and not hideous in the way that this movie makes him hideous, but actually like he wasn't supposed to be. And obviously Jacob Elordi is this character is made to look beautiful, even though he's a monster, even though he's not. Now, I think I get that. I totally get that. But this is for me allegory and I don't care.
Exactly.
Frankly, I don't care.
when he first shows up, with cloaked and his face cloaked, inside of me, I felt this feeling of death. What death would look like in the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and which he does become death, and that he destroys people who are necessary, people who are coming after him. It's his boundary that he has to put up because it's, you know, either him or them. But you know, he's doing it to also save them, which is very interesting to me because he doesn't necessarily want to hurt them, but you know what people do sometimes to you can drive you to this place that you know you don't want to go, but sometimes does happen. But also, speaking of other characters, I want to talk about the places in the set being characters as well, like the actual watchtower itself being its own sentient being with that eye in the top of the tower. When that first came into the scene, it reminded me of also the Eye of Sauron. So that hit me too. And this tower is, and I can't remember the name of the tower in Scotland, but there was a tower in Scotland that they visited as well, and got some inspiration from that as well. So I just wanted to talk about that as well, with the tower being a sentient being.
Let me jump in here. I think we have something from Jason. Is that correct, producers? Even though he's not here, I think he's coming down to us.
Because I am super cool, or perhaps just extremely out of touch and not down with today's music, I am not here live on the show. I'm at a Bryan Adams concert because it cuts like a knife and I just can't help it. But I wanted to share some thoughts with you about Frankenstein and give you a quick Banky movie moment. Usually I write these up. This is just off the cuff, me saying exactly how I feel. And I think how I feel is probably different from a lot of the rest of the Coven, because I liked this movie. I didn't love this movie. And part of that is because of the questions that I'm going to pose in this moment. So the movie opens up with Dr. Frankenstein on the ice. He's apparently a crazy man in the middle of nowhere, and he's found by a Dutch crew of a ship who are trapped in the ice, and they bring him on board the ship. And then the monster of Frankenstein attacks. The creature that he created attacks, and I think it kills 6 of the sailors, and then they manage to like sink it down into the very cold ocean for a while. But anyways, the captain's like, tell me the story of this monster, while Dr. Frankenstein is in the captain's opulent cabin, and he begins to tell a story that takes, I don't know, like 90 minutes. And if you had like told somebody that story and described all of that stuff, how long would it have really taken? I get bored talking to people after 10 minutes. If someone had started the story of the monster with, I was a child and had parental issues, I would be like, no, please stop. Get to the point that I need you to get to. Please just tell me what this creature is so we can figure out what's going on. But no, it's every little aspect of his life, and it goes on and it goes on. If you were there, if you were really there, your eyes would roll. And second, when you got to the whole point of, hey, I'm making corpses come to life, you would have said, no, you're not. No, I think you're nuts. I think you're crazy. I'm going to have you put in the brig until you calm down and can tell me what is exactly going on. So yeah, none of that makes sense to me. None of that, I'm going to tell you my story and it's going to go on and on. Second, and then the monster comes in. And the monster gets to do the same thing. Like, hey, you killed a bunch of my crew. Why don't you come into my nice warm cabin and, tell me your story for 5 or 6 hours as well? No, you just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. Now, I don't think that you should necessarily start by shooting the monster like this crew did. I think that's terrible. But after it killed a bunch of your mates, you're not going to let him in there. It just defies explanation. It is not going to happen. Stop hexing me, Courtney. Stop hexing me. Stop frowning, Heather. That's just not how the world works. So, yeah, I have problems with this movie. I didn't like the way it was set up because it just didn't feel authentic to me. And then there's the love story. Oh, I saw you once and now I'm in love with you. Maybe we saw each other 2 or 3 more times. That's not love. That's infatuation or obsession. And it's not healthy. That's not how to have a love story. So, yeah, problems with Frankenstein. Don't love it as much as everybody else. Big issues with the way that the story is told, because that is not how people act. And now that I'm done, I'm going to get back to rocking out to old dad rock.
Jason is getting hexed.
Where is Courtney? When you need her.
Jason is getting hexed like he was not.
That was so wrong. I'm so sorry. Does anyone have any quotes? Let's quickly move on.
I was just going to say, I think I would have sat and listened to the story because they're just stuck in the ice. What else is the captain going to do? Just go out there and freeze? Like, I'd be like, yeah, buddy, spill that tea. I got nothing else going on. Like, I'd be here for it, popcorn and ready. So that's how I feel.
And especially if it's the 1800s. What else are you going to do?
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I think they need to bring
stories.
Yeah, we need to bring the art of storytelling back, and that human connection. I think that's important. I don't think we have enough of that these days. But I do have a quote, and Victor says it: "The game of chess we play, we only play against ourselves." And that is so true in many ways. And inside the movie, they had lots of instances where there were mirrors in the room, so and people were able to take a good look at themselves. But were they truly looking? But that's one of the quotes that really grabbed me.
I think a quote from Del Toro himself emphasizes what Jenny said earlier. He said, "Only monsters hold the secrets I long for." And that is, he said that. I can't remember which article that I read at an interview. So I guess then if we don't have any more quotes, I guess nobody else has any quotes and to share. I guess we can go on to voting. So now we know where Jason would vote.
He said his was half, but he's not here, so he doesn't count.
He doesn't count. So one's up and one's down. Let's see in the chat as well. Looks like we've got, mine is going to be higher than normal.
Oh, yeah. I think mine is going to be.
So high you can't even see my wand. And I think Jenny has a card, a tarot card, and a wand up. He is a magician. So I don't see anything in the chat. Are we voting? Are we wands up and wands up in the chat yet? Nothing. So we'll keep that open. Wands up. Okay. Mary Jane King, wands up. They're getting some coming in. I guess people are thinking about it. They're still overcome with a little proclaimed. Wands up, wands half up. Oh, Jason just came in, wands half up. Okay.
He's not here, so his vote doesn't count.
His vote doesn't count. So I guess before we share what's going on, we'll talk about what movie's coming up next week. I think Richard-Lael, you want to share that? You know?
Well, I certainly do. This is something that I absolutely love. It is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp version, which is much closer to the book, mind you, and well better acted than Gene Wilder.
Okay, so we're going to have that conversation next
Oh
week.
my God.
We are
Really?
going to have that conversation. This is a hill I will die on.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, for those of you who are not going to be here next week, several of you who might be, the reason is, so, you know, when we were kids, and the film tanked, by the way, and the teacher would read you the book, and then she would roll in at the end of the story, after she'd already completed the book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, she would roll in that big television set on the cart with the star, and and it would have the weird rolly lines because it had been used so many times. And all of my classmates would go, "Yeah, Willy Wonka!" And I went, "I hate that movie. I hate that movie," they would say. I would say, "I don't like him. I don't like that Willy Wonka. I don't like him. I think he's rude. I don't like him." "Well, but he gives candy. What's not to like about candy?" "I don't like candy," I said.
So that's a preview for next week, then.
That is a preview. Because it later plays into my entire world. There are two things that I really love: the Addams Family and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Two things.
So join us. Oh, there you go. So join us here next week to hear more about how much Richard-Lael hates Willy Wonka and loves Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I guess before we go, let's find out where everyone's going to be. If anyone has anything exciting to share or is going to be somewhere we can find you and visit with you. Scarlett?
You know what? I'm actually going to be here. I just handed in the extended outline for my next project, which I will be writing all over Christmas. And then I have, it's called The Uncrossing. I'm very, very excited about it. And then I have another film that is out to cast right now, and that one's called Hellbore. So that's going to be me all Christmas.
Sounds busy. Jenny?
Yeah, I have a weekly podcast. It's called Cozy Coven Chats. It's every Sunday, about half an hour or less. I talk about how to live as a witch seasonally. So we talk about the season, we talk about the new and the full moons, we talk about herbs and rocks, and just how to tune in a really low budget, slow living way. And it's great for beginner witches too. And it streams everywhere anybody would listen to a podcast.
Can you share the deck you have before, the Del Toro deck, before we move on?
Yeah, so Tomas Iho is close friends with Guillermo del Toro, and he made the Tarot del Toro with his blessing. Both are tarot readers, and I actually have a huge print, not in this room, of Pan's Labyrinth from Tomas Iho. And as mentioned earlier, he did the little green man like letter cards, which you can also buy. But he's in Spain, so sometimes it makes it hard. But they are basically the tarot done with Guillermo's ideas in place. And Tomas is a wood, he like carves wood and then prints, the printmaker, and then colors them. So absolutely beautiful. This is from Pan's Labyrinth because I truly do love monsters just like Guillermo. So, and then we have obviously her for the star. So yeah, totally recommend it. It's a little difficult to read if you, because it has these kind of minor on the minor arcana, which is not always easy for beginners because it's just numbers. So if you're not a maths person, this could be a little much, but it's good for people who've been reading a while, I think.
Those are cool. And Tabitha, do you have something coming up?
I am just laying low till after the first of the year, but I am available for private readings through Tabitha Meadows at travelerslight.life.
Travelers. And that's it. Okay. And Richard-Lael?
I am really easy to find. Also, if you want to sleep with me, hit that wherever that QR code comes up. You can get a pillow and you can sleep with me. I cannot tell you how many people have slept with me because of this. Right there. I'm really easy to find. I'm thegentlemanpsychic.com. I am at University of Magicus. I'm really easy to find. And I do tarot here and seances here in New Orleans. Sometimes Old Orleans, but that's a whole other country.
And I am Heather Greene, and I am at my website, heathergreene.net. I posted earlier that I was on NPR yesterday, I believe, talking about how witches love Wicked and Elphaba, and if they do or if they don't. So that was on NPR, and her rumor has it that I will be interviewed again and appearing in the next couple weeks. So I'll have that out as well. I'll post that. I was just at that's a different one. Conjuration this past weekend. It happens every November in Atlanta, and that was a super fun talking to lots of different people about pop culture, witches, and magic. But other than that, nothing until February. So I am on break as well. It sounds like that's what everybody's doing. Everyone's having, well, except Scarlett.
Scarlett's writing, yes.
The show must go on.
There's no rest for the wicked.
How many people are going out to see it this weekend? Speaking of Wicked. No? Nobody's going out to see it this weekend? Oh my goodness. There's not a rush. I am planning to wait till my child comes home from college, and then we're going to go see it next weekend.
Yeah, my family is gone, so I'm waiting. I've read all the books, and I've seen the play in the Pantages, and we watched the first film, and The Wizard of Oz is my absolute favorite movie of all time. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't love it though. I definitely have my issues with the film, but I'm open to it. I'm open to the second one.
I do not like to leave my house if I can help it. And so why would I leave? Look around. I have all of these beautiful things. These things are from my wardrobe. Like, why would I ever want to leave my house? I have Guillermo del Toro colors on my walls. Like, why would I ever want to leave? So no, I will not be rushing out to watch any movie. The only reason I go out is because I have to get paid. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so you're waiting for the screaming.
Yeah. There's also gridlock this time of year, like where I live. You don't get very far in, like, it takes 20 minutes to go, a couple of feet. So yeah, if I can help it, I don't go out.
Well, we have Wicked, and we have, of course, Stranger Things coming next week too. The other big thing that's happening, and you don't have to leave your house for Stranger Things. So that is also
Yes,
a big
that's
one
also
coming.
true, but I probably won't be watching that either. I just won't. I won't. I mean, you know what? I'm like Patty watching things on my mobile device. I mean, people walk into my Victorian house and they say, "Where's your television?" And I go, "Barbarians."
Monsters.
Truly monsters.
Well, on that note, I think we have one more thing to do. We're just at 6:00 or whatever time it is in your place. So it's time to do what? What do witches do? We cackle. So let's go ahead. Ready? 1, 2, 3.